Well, hello, everybody. Scott Roberts and Jerry Hubble here, live with you. I typed out it felt weird to not broadcast yesterday, and it did. I was like all set to kind of get everything ready, and I just go,
Yeah,
it's a
it was a
holiday.
good it was a good break. It was a good break.
It's a holiday. Yeah, so we hope you guys had a great time out there. Let's see who's on with us. I think I called everybody else out already. But certainly Richard Grace is on with us. James the astrophotographer. Wolfgang's on with us. Ron Delvaux. Michael Whitaker, good evening from the UK. Jeff Weiss says, hello, Star fans. Yes, we are Star fans. That's right. Jeff Weiss says, congratulations to Richard, because Richard had first light with his 130 Newtonian. So I wonder if he got some images or something. Wade Prunty's 100-hour Wade is with us here. Chuck Staw, how's it going over there? Tyler Bowman. Tyler's working from home these days right now, but
Yep.
still doing a great job.
He's got we got to talk to him about his G11 experience so far.
Oh, we should. Yeah, we should. So let's see. Mike Wiesner's with us today. How you doing, Mike? Dusty Haskins, and I think that's our regulars watching right now today. But today is Global Star Party 7. So
Seven.
we've done a lot of star parties, and we're going to have two of them this week. We have GSP 7 and GSP 8. GSP 8 will be on Friday, and that will be going from Europe down through, we're trying down all the way down through Australia, so we'll see if we get it. But it should be interesting, and will happen, of course, in the afternoon, starting at about 4 p.m. our time, Central. So hope you guys can tune in for that. Marco Pola, hoping these fires in California go away, although it makes the sun look really dark and red through the smoke. That's true. I remember one time, well, I lived in California for a long time, and I remember seeing naked eye sunspots through the smoke of California fires. So that was kind of strange and weird and good and bad and all at the same time. So Paul Masters says, good day. Brett Blake says, they still haven't caught up on the sleep I missed from the star party. Oh, well, you have to just it's weird.
That's right. You got to get turned around. Just stay up 24 hours to get turned back around.
Right. Yeah, you got 24 hours. That's right. So, but Global Star Party 7 tonight will be really interesting. We're supposed to have the Chabot Space and Science Center on with us tonight with the 36-inch. So they plan on coming on at about 9 p.m. their time, which would make it about 11 o'clock here. So provided they don't have too much smoke or ash, they'll do it. If they don't, they're still going to show their setup and what it's all about, and we'll get them on the next Star Party. Who else do we have? We've got, of course, David Levy and Kelly Beatty and Abigail Bolenbach and Libby and the Stars. Libby's going to be giving a talk about Mercury. So I'm really excited for her, and I think that's totally cool. And there's a lot more of you guys coming on. Dave Ing has decided to rejoin us, and I think Richard Grace will be on with us, and so we are all really happy to have you join in. If you didn't get a login credentials, you can go to explorescientific.com/events and go into our waiting room, and we'll let you in. So Carlos Hernandez says, hello, Scott and Jerry, your excellent OpenGOTO series continues. Yeah, this is episode 65. We're rapid.
Yeah, I was wondering which one it was. It was 65, yeah.
65. So Yeah, it just seems like we started it yesterday, or maybe it seems like it started eons ago. I don't know. How do you
Uh,
feel about that, Jerry?
I think it feels fast to me, like it was just yesterday. In
Yeah,
some respects,
yeah,
it's just
right.
we're gonna get to 100 before we know it.
Yeah, we stumbled, tripped through most of it, but it was fun. It was fun. And it's been great having you guys with us. We really enjoy having you. Uh, Wolfgang says, here in Germany, Frankfurt, we have clear skies, but I'm too tired from work to bring my stuff out. Maybe, maybe, maybe like a career change so you can actually, be the astronomer you want to be, Wolfgang.
Right, right.
It's tough on people though, because it's really difficult to make a living as an amateur astronomer. We're doing it, but it's
Well, I did it. I set my system up quite a bit well over 200 times in 4 years, and I was working full time and got up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work also.
that's true. Yeah,
So
that's
you just have to be a certain level. You can gauge your passion by how often you decide to stay up all night and then go to work the next day.
right. Yeah. Plus, you were running a nuclear power plant at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's no big deal.
No big deal. So, Aaron says that's dedication. Hugo, I went down that route, career change to be the astronomer I want to be, work in progress, lots of laughs. Yeah, I think that a lot of us try to spend a lot of our lives trying to get to what it is that we want to be doing. As far as myself goes, I sacrificed early, um, and it hasn't always been a smooth road. That's for sure. It's this is a volatile business. If you're looking at it from a business standpoint, being in the telescope business is can be really feast or famine. And so if you get you have a comet that comes by, or something very special that happens in the sky that the media gets involved in, gets behind, then you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. You can sell lots of astronomy gear during that time, and then when the event goes away, really hard to sell astronomy gear after that. So it can be very tough, and
It's tough
the
to
market.
get the capacity to provide. I mean, there's a shortage of equipment right now, and it's really tough
That's
to
right. From
build up
every
capacity.
you can't
You
you
can't
can't.
build up capacity to meet the peaks. I mean, it's just like,
No one would have, and I've talked about this before. No one predicted that the pandemic itself would create demand for hobby jobs. I mean, but that's exactly what happened. So Dave Ing says, "Hello, everybody. What's up? We're up waiting for our start party to happen." So, um, but anyhow, I'm excited to have our next star party and to have all of our guests join us. And Cesar Brallo down in Argentina will be joining us. I think that Rodrigo Zeleda will also join us from down there, so that should be good. I talked recently to Marcello, who was on our show, Marcello from Brazil, and he's concocting a special event down there that he wants to talk to us about. So we'll see what that's all about. I'll learn about that probably tomorrow. Um, and so, anyways, today you worked with Jerry. You had to work with Gary Palmer today. What was happening?
yeah, Gary ran into a situation. He's using the IXOS 100 mount for testing, but he's also got an XS2 PMC8 mount of ours that he's used off and on. Also, he was doing some solar work. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but he had a weird situation where in the middle of the imaging session, the mount all of a sudden decided to just take off on him, and there's really very specific things that have to happen for that behavior to occur. And it's related to a reset on the mount.
It was like aiming at the floor, as I recall.
Yes, so it's related to the reset on the mount, and and the thing is, it's real subtle because Explore Stars is very proactive at if it's got an active connection and it drops, it'll and it comes back, it'll just seamlessly just reconnect. And you won't see anything at all on the screen. It'll just maybe stop if you happen to look at it and you'll see that it's stopped tracking, and then all of a sudden it starts up again. That's the kind of interaction that it'll have. It's very subtle. And what I think happened to Gary was that and the other thing Gary does, which is a new, I guess you could call it a feature that didn't realize was there. You can take the Explore Stars and on the Windows platform and resize the display so that it gets smaller, and he pushes it over to the side, and it just shows the buttons, just like Poth does when you have the Poth up and you got the control buttons. You
Okay.
can resize it to just show the control buttons, which is kind of cool. But that apparently causes some kind of interaction that is really strange to me with the connection, with the Wi-Fi connection. He talked to us about this before, like last couple weeks ago, I think. He mentioned it to us that that's what happens. So I think that's what happened this time, was that he was there in that mode with the Explore Stars off to the side, and then it decided to reset the connection, and you don't see it. You're not paying attention to the Explore Stars, and even if you were paying attention to it, you may not even notice it.
Ah,
And then when it came back, it's not just the connection was dropped between the mount and the application. It was the actual network itself that dropped for some reason. Some noise or something maybe went on, but for some reason it dropped, and it came back and reestablished itself. But when the network reestablishes itself, not just the connection from the Explore Stars, when the SSID reestablishes itself, it resets the controller. So at that point, it sets the motor counts back to the home position. So if you're tracking the sun, just imagine you're tracking the sun and it's going along, and all of a sudden you get this reset. In point mode, what it's doing, it's like doing these little micro slews to the sun continuously based on the mount model. It's calculating the position. So it's sitting there, go to the sun, go to the sun, go to the sun, and then it resets. And after it resets, the motor counts go set to 0, and then the next connection says, go to the sun. Now the sun is not at the home position, it's somewhere else. So now it starts to slew the mount off to the sun, which maybe in relative terms is at the floor.
okay.
So all of a sudden you get this glitch. It's a sequence of events that happens with the connection and reestablishment of the connection.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of weird behavior you might see if the connection drops with not just the Explore Stars application connection, but with the actual network connection.
And he also had problems, I think, going from wireless to wired connection. What was the problem there?
Yeah, he had done it before. I think I walked him through the first time a few weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when he wanted to go back and forth between serial and wireless. And then, of course, like anything else, if you do it once or twice, when you go back a few weeks later to try it, you don't quite remember everything about it.
Yeah.
And so I just walked him through it. And he went through the steps, and he knew what he was doing with every step. He just didn't get it in quite the right order.
I see.
So it was bombing out. It was not
Very
taking, basically.
unfamiliar with telescopes or even our gear. He knows a lot about it. So.
Yes, that's right. So it's just a little bit of training and a little repetition, practice to get used to it and understand the order. So I walked him through it, and it, of course, the machine knows to work if I'm telling, if I'm in the picture,
Going, you feel bad or feel sick, and then you go to the doctor and you feel perfect.
Right, exactly. So it knows better than to act up.
Whatever was Your elbow's fine. You got full extension. You know, you couldn't walk before. You can walk. You know, so
Right. So the equipment knows, it knows that I'm looking at it and said, "What? You better not be acting up."
Brett Blake says all of. Oh, Brett Blake's making a little announcement here. Um, he says, all I was going to tell you, I was going to give that eyepiece that I won to Libby. That's
Oh,
awesome,
that's nice. That's cool.
Brett. Jeez. Um, he says, visual right now is under mustard colored skies and won't work for me. Take care of Libby. Yeah, well, you know, she'll be blown away that you're doing that. That's really kind. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. Well, I'll show you how much of a nerd I am, you guys. I I got these microscope slides. You guys know I've got my pet tardigrades and stuff like that, and you can kind of see it from the reflection, but these are concave microscope slides, and so it's got like a little well in it. So when you put in your pond water or whatever, it just stays in that little well. And I've got two of them, so I can move the slide back and forth. Anyways, that's what makes me happy, guys. So that's
That's cool. I'll just have to go to the dollar store the next time I buy you a Christmas present or
Yeah.
a birthday present.
expensive. So that's right. That's right. But the tardigrades, they're also not expensive, but the shipping, that's expensive. That is expensive. Anyhow, okay, so what's our next?
I don't know. I was just trying to find something to talk about on the science news type stuff. Let me see if I can.
Thing on the forum these days.
Yeah. Let me see here. Actually, the forum has been pretty busy. We've had a lot of new members come on, and there's been a lot of conversation, even today, about ASI Air and and beginners buying this piece
I
of
see.
equipment and how to set it up with our equipment. And Tyler is becoming the expert on it. I know he's going to hate me saying that, but I told him when he bought the thing or when he started messing with it that he was going to be the expert on that for our customers. And been chiming in doing that. And I'm trying to find something here that's maybe reasonable to talk about. Let me look in the mounts form.
Reasonable.
All right.
Versus
So,
unreasonable. Let's get something.
yeah, unreasonable. Let's see. I'm trying to find the worst thing in the world to talk
Worst.
about here.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott stinks. How about that? Is that like a subject?
Scott
Ed?
stinks. Yeah, that's right. Scott, he's just
Yeah, that guy.
not so good anymore. All right, so we do have a couple of messages. Alan, what's his email or his name is Alan DeBrew.
DeBrew.
I guess that's how you pronounce it. Debrut. He says he's really frustrated. He says, I have to tell you, I'm stressed and exhausted trying to work out what is wrong. And he's got an XS2, brand new XS2 and he's loaded the drivers and Explore Stars and nothing. I have a wireless connection, run the ASCOM diagnostics, nothing is moving.
Okay.
So this we may have spoken about this kind of thing before, but I've got a couple of comments about when you run into this when you're starting out as a new customer. So right now he says at the moment I will not recommend the ESXS2 and PMC 8 mount to any of my friends or colleagues. I couldn't take the abuse I would get back.
Oh,
So
okay.
he doesn't really say whether
Yeah, what happened?
let me see here. He says he's got a Celestron SE8. So he is an astronomer. He's got equipment before, so he's experienced with that. I think part of the issue, so Tyler responded back, we're sorry to hear that you're frustrated and we're gonna do what we can to get you working up to speed. and you got
Sure.
a direct mail back from Tyler on that. Now this was last week. Um,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you kind of hit the wall, doing something and you think it's, you don't know what it is,
well, you don't know what you don't know,
And
and you don't and you think you're following the instructions as written. But
yeah,
there's a problem with instructions a lot of times, and we're guilty of it, is that we assume a certain level of experience or knowledge when you jump into the system as a go-to system. We assume you know certain things about this about go-to systems in general.
or they would say polar align the telescope, and we don't walk you through step by step
Right.
alignment.
That's right. There's some things in our instructions that we don't really include, and um, that's
Hmm.
something that we're working on, of
Yeah.
course, based on based on the customer comments. But so we're trying to get better at that. But again, there's some things that customers bring to the table that I don't want to say, and I'm this way a lot of times. I can be set in my ways, but I can think I understand something,
Jerry, you're set
and
in your ways.
and I got certain ways about me. I guess you could say that.
The ways, yes.
But you assume things, and then you start to mess with it, and you discover, that doesn't match my assumption. And you know what happens when you assume stuff.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think about too, I mean, here we are, we're live right now. Anybody can get on YouTube, talk with us live. Maybe they don't realize that this resource is here. That's possible because we've actually logged on with people live on the show and fixed their mounts
Right, right. Walk through their equipment, and
through their equipment, and so and sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't understand you had to do that or whatever.
yeah, yeah, right. There's a key piece that they weren't clear about or they didn't realize. And a lot of times when you're troubleshooting problems, I found this even at the nuclear level,
Mm-hmm.
you're going through step by step looking at the equipment, and then you see something that is kind of odd, and you say, well, that doesn't really matter. And then you go on from there where it does matter. And that's the key to understanding the problem. You just kind of, you know, poo-pooed it. You didn't think it was anything big.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, you don't want to throw any little tiny bit of information, especially something that makes you stop and think about it. You want to write that down
Yeah.
and say, okay, I remember Simpson about this, or this seems like I remember, but I don't know what it is, and I don't want to spend the time right now to look it up. So then you go on about your business and find out, you'll go back and say, oh, maybe I should look this up, and find out that might be the key to your problem. Uh, because the thing about this equipment and the thing about electronics in general is everything has to work all in a chain. This is a big long chain of pieces, parts, and equipment that every piece has to work in its right order uh, for everything to work. It's a chain of events and a chain of equipment that has to be there to get the result that you want. Um, and that's especially if you're doing astrophotography.
Mm-hmm.
You're relying on every subsystem and component that's in that complete system to work uh, the way it's supposed to and the way you expect. If any one piece seems to be a little odd, or you're having problems with a little piece that you can bypass, that may not be the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to keep an open mind when you're troubleshooting something, to not throw anything away, to I like to tell people to go back to the fundamentals, break the problem down to the basic pieces, try to get rid of all the extraneous stuff that's in the problem that doesn't that you don't that that you're struggling with. If there's a piece with auto guiding that's not related to the piece that you're troubleshooting, get rid of the auto guiding. Don't even turn that on. Get rid of, if you're having an optical problem. We've had a customer that I've been working with Tyler on, that's had these little their image artifacts that show up in his images,
Okay.
and it's based on his So he's taking pictures of this bright star. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a key piece of information, right? And
Okay.
he doesn't, so he's got the bright star, he's overexposing it, but he's got it off to the side outside the field of view of his camera. And he's
Right.
got these streaks or this ring. And I keep telling Tyler, no, what's the source for this artifact? It's light. So where's the light coming from? You break it down to the fundamentals.
Yes.
The customer also gave us a picture of where he had his mount set up, and he had this bright light across the street
There.
from this house shining right into his face. And you got to put two and two together.
Well, again, you don't always think of all those little things, but with experience, you get there. So
Yeah. So in terms of artifacts, and that's just an optical defect. I remember the first time I saw this weird artifact in an image, and it looked just like another deep sky object
yeah,
off to the side. And I think other people have seen that type of thing. So it's a little reflection that shows up off of a bright star. Typically, you'll have a little reflection that's off the axis,
mm-hmm,
and it's just like during the daytime imaging. Those what do they call them? Those blooms or something, where you see they actually add graphics to show that type of stuff when on CGI graphics to add these little artifacts.
sure,
Same kind of thing. So you're sitting there looking at it and say, what is that? And it's not real. You got to realize that that's typical of, and it's typically because the camera has its internal reflections in the camera.
yeah.
It's not related to the telescope. And the assumption people make is when it shows up, they think it's a telescope problem.
Around inside the camera adapter it could be, so I mean, ways to mitigate that is maybe make a dew shield, for example.
Right, right.
I mean, photographers do it all the time.
Yeah, an extended dew shield. And I actually
Yeah,
suggested that to Tyler to tell the customer.
yeah. And then I always had, even as a photographer, I used to shoot 8x10, where you get underneath the cloth and, you have the big sheet film and all that stuff. And I
Oh
did
yeah.
all that stuff. Part of a photographer's kit was and Eastman Kodak used to sell this. It was Eastman Kodak's flat black paint that they would paint the interior components of their cameras. And so, if you wanted to improve the contrast inside your camera, you go in there looking for reflections with a flashlight, and if you saw something shiny in there, you go paint it flat black, and this would, so, and you would think that the manufacturer would have caught all these reflections in the cameras, but in cameras, a lot of them are notorious for internal reflections, and
Right,
so
right.
that reduces the contrast.
And that's what this was, a DSLR.
Telescope. Telescopes usually do better, because they paint that tube flat black. They baffle them, but you can have just an anodized camera adapter tube, and they're really shiny, really reflective on the inside. Go and paint it flat black, and that will help. I wanted to ask you a question on the air here. Actually, there's a couple of things here. One of them is Paul mentioned that he had returned his PMC-8 to Bresser in Germany. He said the Wi-Fi config was messed up. And so,
Yes, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to see tomorrow if there's any way we can add some resources to help out.
We've had a previous customer in Europe send their PMC-8 back to Ingo, and it just, for some reason, it came out of China. We talked about this, I think. It came out of China with the Wi-Fi module not configured. It didn't. One thing, it didn't have a password, and then the connection wouldn't make. So I don't know why that was.
Yeah, because I know part of the process, both here in the United States and in Europe, is we test them all. We fire them up, we check it. And so that was weird.
I know that Ingo has been on vacation though this last couple weeks, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So Paul said the Wi-Fi was open.
Yeah, that's right. It was open, yeah, instead of secure, right?
Okay. So we'll have to we'll see what we can do to help out. Paul said he'd send me an email tomorrow. Jeff Wise says he has not been able to see stars in the east or west for several weeks because of smoke and haze. Can I still align the mount? Short answer is yes. It would be almost like aligning your mount in broad daylight. Okay, can you align your mount in broad daylight? The answer is yes. Okay, I've done this a few times with go-to mounts of all different kinds. It would be very easy to do with our mount too. But what you do is you make sure your tripod is very level. Okay, you point your telescope. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you point it north. You try to find out what your magnetic deviation is. We talked about that before, but you can find magnetic deviation maps on Google, for example. And if you're 7 degrees east or west or whatever it is, you just adjust that based off your compass and point the telescope like that. Make sure that you're at the right latitude. One way to check your latitude is well, there's a couple of ways. You can get an inclinometer. You can buy one at the hardware store and put that on your mount and then just adjust it. And you'll see the inclinometer will show you the number of degrees. So make that to your correct latitude. Get close, okay?
They're phone apps. They're phone apps.
And phone apps, right. Yeah, I always forget those. So Jeff says, I got one today. And then what you do is you just put it in the home position. You fire it up, and you just do a go-to. Forget about going through the alignment method, okay? And just do a go-to, and try to pick something that you know will be bright enough to see in the daytime. Now, this morning I saw it was before there was full sun, but I could still see Mars this morning. It was super bright. The moon's out. Okay, that would be another object that you could say go to the moon. And if it's not on the moon, then what you can do is release the locks, point it at the moon, tighten the locks back up. Now the moon is not as precise of a thing to sync on as, let's say, a star. Okay, then you would pick a bright star that would be up in the sky, something magnitude 2 or brighter that would be overhead. And you can go to it. As long as you're focused on the moon, you should be able to see a bright star through your telescope in broad daylight. You're muted, Jerry.
Yeah, the nice thing about the moon is that it's concentric with an eyepiece. So you can always center the moon in the eyepiece that way, and it'll get very close. So that works if you get the right magnification.
Yeah. But yeah, you can work with stars that are straight up, or planets, but you'll be amazed how much more you can see with the light gathering power of your telescope if you are pointing it correctly, even if the sky's a bit compromised. And that's how you can see stuff at night. But you can do this during the daytime, and if you do it enough times, you're going to get good at it, and you can really blow your friends away by polar aligning your telescope in broad daylight and start to find stuff before it gets dark.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Brett Blake says, there you go. Mind you, Jeff, this is Brett Blake, I see a pole master in my future. I'm way too old to crawl in the dirt to look through a polar scope. That's a lot of us, I think.
Yeah, right. That's really the biggest argument for not using a polar scope, is because it's such a pain to use with that type of. But didn't you develop a right angle polar scope at one time?
Yeah, we still have it. Yeah, it's an 8x50 right angle polar finder scope. Yeah, it fits on the top of our mounts. If you have one of our telescopes, you'll have the shoe that this thing fits into. But if you don't have one, you can of course get the shoe as well. So. Chuck Stoss said that he had also one of the mounts that was open from the had open Wi-Fi
network.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's really odd.
That has not happened in the United States, so that's something we're going to have to dig more into. Vijay Kumar says, replying to Gary Palmer, Oh, okay. They're having a private chat. That's
Oh,
cool.
is Gary on the chat?
Yeah, Gary's here with 5J. That's great. You guys should take up Gary on his astro courses. He's really a great. It's like having Ansel Adams here in a photography club. So
Yeah.
to teach you the zone system or something. So you should take advantage of it. I tried as a photographer. I tried to get in Ansel Adams courses for years. He was always backed up. I could never get in. Never.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So Caesar Brello, something that I found is that if I choose stars for alignment in the catalog, it's that they are in alphabetical order. Oh, he would like to see them in alphabetical order. That would be appreciated. I think they're in order of right ascension. Is that correct?
Could be. It might be just name order. Depends on which program. I guess I think it'd be more name order, but we do have that request in our feature request list. So I
Yeah.
think we can look, and I think there might be a couple of new ones there that we could talk about if you want to talk about something.
What's that?
A feature request, new feature
Feature request?
request. Let's see here. I'm bringing it up right now to see what's come up recently.
I'll get there. It's simple stuff I can't do that. We'll eventually.
Wolfgang wants me to make a PDF for polar alignment during the daytime. I can't understand what tool I have to use. I think I have to make a video, Wolfgang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Describing it in PDF will probably confuse everyone.
Right. So there's a new request for adding support for Bluetooth game controllers in Explore Stars, which is really an interesting thing. Let's see. So he's asking for a gamepad controller, which we already have access to via the ASCOM driver and the Indie driver for also on a PC. I think I'm not sure how tablets are set up to support game controllers. We'd have to investigate that quite a bit, I
Mhm.
think, to know.
I would imagine. And gamers have probably been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, do you think they use game pads with a tablet showing the game? Have you seen that?
Well, since I'm not a gamer, I would say,
No.
you believe that? I went through the whole computer games generation, not playing computer games. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Game controller. Not that I have anything against game controllers, or gamers. Or tablet. Let's see. The short answer is yes. They even have like a game controller that clamps onto your tablet. Kind of cool. This one's like $22. Very interesting. Oh, you can get as low as $15. So it's there. It would just be a matter of,
Yeah, maybe we should try to support that.
yeah. Yeah. Jay says, yes, you can connect a gamepad to a tablet. I'm looking at some pretty cool options here right now. So,
The main thing is being able to map the buttons for the Explore Stars app into the game controller. We've talked about that for a while now.
Brett says, who's my youngest employee? That's who I go to for game controllers. Yeah, we got some pretty young guys here. They're like in their young 20s, you know. Michael Whitaker, guys, using an iPad to control the Exos 2 with Explore Stars, is that my limit as far as controlling and or updating is firmware, i.e. firmware updates, etc., etc. Using an
Oh,
iPad to control the Exos 2 with Explore Stars, is that my limit as far as controlling or updating firmware
no,
updates?
no. No, it's not. That's just the beginning.
right?
That's ASCOM and Indy drivers give you the world in terms of controlling the mount with different software. Um, so that, you need to look into that if you're not familiar.
There's a guy here. He says, "I don't understand why anybody want to use a game controller for a telescope." I don't know. Everybody controls their telescope differently and wants to
Well,
control it differently.
the use case for the gamepad along with your computer is if you want to look through the eyepiece and adjust your position uh, without looking at the computer screen. You want to just have a tactile button that you look through the eyepiece and then move it up and down, left and right. That's the use case for a physical hand controller that we consider the most common. Other than that, I mean, it's almost like a luxury in some respects, but it's not. I mean, it's a useful thing if you're going to be centering objects in your eyepiece. The photograph with I don't know if you have a separate scope that you're looking at to center the object, or typically people just use a computer and look at the camera image on live view and adjust it.
Yeah, right, right. So I got Paul's email. We'll contact Europe and see if we can be of any assistance from this side here. Do we have any other comments, questions, you guys? Still, it still seems that a lot of people have questions and challenges when it comes to polar alignment.
Yeah.
Um, I think that, amateur astronomers in the 80s and 90s, or at least in the 80s for sure, spent, I mean, it was one of the most basic things that you learned was polar alignment. It was almost a rite of passage to get into the hobby, and telescope companies have worked hard to create all kinds of software workarounds and ways to find stars in the sky, but it still turns out to get the best astrophotos, you're going to want to polar align the scope, and you're going to want to polar align it pretty good. Okay, and so that is something that I have not been able to figure out how to make this really truly easy without just making what I call the hole-in-one machine. Okay, the hole-in-one machine. I always joke about it with Jerry. If you invite me to go out golfing with you, and you're a regular golfer, and I've never golfed before in my life, and I say, sure, I'll go golf with you next week. I get on Amazon and I buy a hole-in-one machine. Okay, they deliver it to me the next day air, and I meet up with you out there, and I don't have a golf bag or anything. I have this box. Okay, I drop my golf ball in there, and it knocks a hole in one. Okay, and the golfer
Right.
is amazed at that and can't believe that the thing actually works. And so we got to hole number 2, number 3, and number 4, and number 5. Pretty soon, once we get through, half the round of golf here, the golfer's like going, okay, I get it. You're going to knock a hole in one every time. But have you learned anything about golf?
Right. Right. And how interested are you really in golf
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch it go in the hole. Okay, but
for a little while?
maybe to blow other people away. But you're not learning anything, and for every hole in one, at least on the golf course, I think you have to buy a round of drinks for everybody, so it could get expensive.
But you're going to lose interest pretty quickly in that. I mean,
Yes, you are.
just like these other systems that do things for you.
Yeah,
It's like what's the purpose of the hobby? So we get down to what's the purpose of the hobby? What is the hobby about? It's about learning the sky and learning things and the equipment and everything else involved with the astronomy world, and getting good at physically doing the stuff for the hobby. although we do let machines do our work for us, we know the hobby is to understand what the machine is doing so that we know that it's doing it correctly.
If you're a scientist and you just want to collect data, okay, that's different. Okay, you could care less what the telescope is doing, and that's what professional astronomers do. They don't know how to operate those big telescopes, not at all, and they're not allowed to. And for the large part, the telescope operators and the observatory superintendent and that whole team, they take your instrument package, they put it on, they do everything you want to see, NGC, whatever, or do research on typo stars or whatever it is. They point the telescope at it and you collect your data, okay? And you're probably not even at the observatory, you're probably collecting it remotely from someplace.
Right.
So
The only thing the scientist does is he determines or she determines what are the configurations for the cameras and the filters and things to get his data that he wants. He has to decide what instruments he needs to get the data that he wants.
yeah, and those people, of course, are astronomers as well. But you can take astronomers like that. And when I first started up some of my first astronomy clubs in California, we were very close to Palomar Observatory. And I would meet up with researchers that were coming down the hill, after doing their observing runs. And they would stop off to kind of chat with us amateur astronomers. And they'd say, well, what are you looking at? And I'd go, we're looking at M51. Well, where is that? And we'd go, okay. Well, then we'd show them, okay, you see the handle of the Big Dipper? If you use that last star and you go down, they were like blown away that we could take our Dobsonian telescopes and just aim it at these objects. Blown away. They go, how do you do that? Well, you learn the sky. And so that's the way it was. Okay. With computerized GOTO telescopes, we've now entered into this new realm of automation and stuff. But, still, most amateur astronomers like to get their hands on the gear a little bit, Otherwise, you would just be in data collection mode and maybe just subscribing to remote robotic telescopes or something, to get your data. So
or why even bother doing that? Just go out on the internet and look at a picture. But you got to claim it. You want to claim it for yourself. I mean, you got to claim it for yourself.
That's right.
You got to do some work. I mean, there's some work you have to do.
But I do, I understand that many of you want to learn more about polar alignment. I've been promising for a while to get more into that with you, and so I'm going to have to do that. I'm thinking about setting up something outside or something along those lines where I can show you how I do it instead of sitting here at my desk. Okay.
You could do a daytime polar alignment using a level and a compass inside the building, right?
I like to do it outside where I actually show something live through the eyepiece.
Yeah.
See, folks, it all works. Here in my office. But I think there's some proof that they'd like to see. So
yeah.
Anyways, and for any of you that are asking about it too, Tyler Bowman says, let's do it Friday, Scott. We've got a star party on Friday, Tyler. So, but we will do, Tyler and I can do it together. Yeah, Mike says do it live from the parking lot. That's where I plan to do it. So I think that's the best way. I think we got a pretty good internet connection out there anyways. Where was I going? I had some other things I wanted to talk about. I know that we're getting ready for the Global Star Party 7 that's going to happen here now in about 5 hours from now. So 4 hours from now. It's almost 5 p.m. at this point. Any other topics you wanted to bring up, Jerry?
I've got I think I brought up let me see if I can find it on the web, a story, a news item that I found. Where's it at here? Oh, okay. Basically, it's basically it's an astronomy magazine.
Okay.
With the sky this week. So let me, I'll bring up let me zoom up real quick. and I'll bring up my screen.
Okay.
Um, can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it. Sure.
All right, stormy. So stormy Jupiter and Neptune are at opposition this week. That's cool. So
If we'll announce winners from Star Party 4. If we did not announce them, we'll get the announcement out there. I can tell you that anybody that has won a door prize, we have already shipped it. So,
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes, sometimes we might have skipped announcing it.
So this is talking about this new storm that we were on our star party last week when Simon, was it Simon? Who was it? Not Simon. No, it was it was Go. I'm sorry.
Christopher, go.
Christopher Go was
Yeah.
talking about this storm. So
Right, yeah.
that happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
So this outbreak of storms in North Temperate Belt happened.
Right.
Says Damien Peach and Martin Ratcliffe reported it shortly after Japanese amateur astronomer Masayo Miyazaki. I guess that's how you pronounce his name. But also, Jupiter is reaching opposition this week also.
Right.
So get out there and look at Jupiter.
Go and look at
See
you. Maybe you'll
see if
discover
you can.
storm. Maybe you'll discover it on tonight's Global Star Party, like we did on the last Global Star Party. So.
Right. See if you can see this new storms that are showing up here. What
Right.
else? Let's see. Sunday. Okay, this was last week, the other day. I mentioned this last week that Moon passes very close to Mars. It passed within 0.03 degrees of Mars.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll have to ask if anybody saw that on Sunday.
Yeah. Did any of you guys in the audience see this happen? Point 0.03, man. That's like
That's right next to it.
crashing into it.
Exactly. So
Brett Blake says Astronomy Magazine is so behind the loop. We saw stormy Jupiter during the last GSP.
yeah, right.
You guys got to see the Discovery announcement, so that was really cool.
Let's see. So this is Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. So what else going on? The dumbbell. They just talk about the dumbbell. We did imaging of dumbbell a few weeks ago. Wednesday, September 9th. Mars is stationary against the background. It will now begin a retrograde loop, switching from its previous eastward motion. So that's kind of cool. So you can watch for that in the sky if you're following Mars. Just watch it from day to day if you got clear skies and see that it goes into retrograde, which means it's moving in the opposite direction
Yeah.
of normal. So that's kind of cool to watch. That's when we're catching up to the Mars and getting ready to pass it. That's what that is. So it's currently 20 arc seconds and will continue to grow.
Yeah.
I think it'll get, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it'll get to 27 arc seconds, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not that big.
It's impressively large, and it's not going to be this large for a long, long time.
It'll be several, probably 10 to 15 years before it gets back to this size, I think.
And you mentioned something about Jupiter reaching opposition. It reached opposition on July 14th.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
So what is this headline then? Oh, I guess it's just, I read it wrong. Neptune's at opposition.
Yeah.
It says Jupiter and Neptune at opposition.
Oh, that's true. Jupiter and Neptune in opposition.
Stormy Jupiter, comma,
and Neptune.
and Neptune at opposition.
That's right. Comma.
Yeah, so I'm a day late and a dollar short with Jupiter. That shows you how much I pay attention to Jupiter.
Aw.
I'm sorry.
Poor
Poor Jupiter.
Poor Jupiter. Well,
So,
cool. Okay. Well, I hope you guys join us tonight. Terry Mann from the Astronomical League will be announcing. Uh, she'll be asking the questions. I did want to mention a little bit about the Astronomical League's role in our door prize giveaways. They're taking a much more active role. They will be selecting the questions. They will be finalizing the winners. They will be announcing the winners. And so what we had been doing was announcing the winners ourselves, but that will be done by the league. And so what will happen is that you will still send in your answers to Kent at explorescientific.com. Kent will forward those emails over to the Astronomical League officers, and then they will determine. There's a date stamp on every email, so they'll determine who answered the question first, and then they in turn will make an announcement by email to the winners. Okay, they will also tell us who the winners were at the subsequent star party. But in all of our door prize giveaways, we would activate the order pretty much right after we would ask the questions, because we would have all the emails in at that time, and we would make that happen. So we didn't wait a whole week to go, okay, we're announcing the door prize winners, and now we'll send them. We'll put in the order. So if there were delays happen because of back orders from product on our side. So that's really the only delay. But anyhow, it was great having you guys on, and we will, again, if you have time tonight, please join us. If you're so inclined, go to explorescientific.com/events, get a free ticket, log in, and then join us on the air. We like to have you. So, I'm just going to look one more time to see if I'm missing anything, any questions.
I wanted to say real quick that I've had a few people send me email to request books, and I've been working with Springer. The order system has been screwed up with
Oh,
my account, so I'm working to get the books ordered and get them shipped to me as quickly. And Wade, I think your books are being shipped to me now. So your book, I think you got the observatory book.
sure.
So I believe, I can't remember now, but
Oh,
whatever it is, whichever book it is you ordered, I've got it. It's coming, so I'll be able to ship that out here before too long.
Tyler wants to know, did you get your telescope focuser fixed?
Yeah, I did receive the focuser today. It's in fact, it's sitting next to me. But unfortunately, you know what happens when you get equipment?
It clouds up.
It's cloudy up tonight. So even if I was going to go right after this show and go and install it and test it, tonight, but it's going to be cloudy.
Yes.
It's from sundown on. So, and actually it's partly cloudy now. So looking up out the window. So
It's your great.
no observing tonight.
It's all your fault. Oh, and someone here, I can't read this because it's red on blue, so I can't really read that writing. It says, but he's got 70-mile-per-hour gusts tonight. That's pretty crazy. Sounds like the plains of Texas. Ron says clear skies in Arizona. It's snowing in Jerryland. The gear curse. Arr. Chuck wants to know your dog's name.
We got Lady. Did you see her on the picture? Lady sat down with me. She's always crawling up and sitting next to me while I'm on
No.
the computer.
Yeah. No, we didn't
Yep.
see her. Tardigrade observing. I got tardigrades, and I have my new. I showed you the wells and my microscope slides. I am so excited. Hope the fire smoke goes away. I don't know if you guys have been watching this, but Mount Wilson Observatory has been is being threatened by fires, and that is just really, I mean, for so many people like myself that love Mount Wilson, we're all like white knuckles over it. Let me see if I can pull it up. They have webcams. It's not the 150-foot tower solar cam because they've got that, but it's what's called the HP Ren tower cams. Here, let me see if I can share this with you guys. Wilson. Spell Scott. Well, heck, why don't I share I can share my screen, right? How about that?
Yeah. How do you do it with the intro and outro?
Well, it's magic. Actually, it's looking pretty good today. Oh, well, no, that's old pictures. Looks pretty smoky.
Send me the link. I can share it.
Here, I'm going to share it. Here we go. There you go. That's what it looks like right now out at Mount Wilson. So you can see a lot of smoke. At night, this camera's still running, and you can see it. But there in the middle, you can see the white dome. That's the 60-inch, and then the middle, just to the right, that little one is the 60-inch. That big one is the 100-inch. And then I think that is the 150-foot solar tower. It's just some perspective difference there. And you can see some of the chara array there as well. Those are the silver domes. And then there's other domes that they've used for different kinds of interferometry and stuff. So, and that blink is how often it updates. So that's pretty, it's pretty often. So I think that they still probably have some fire issues out there, certainly a lot of smoke. So that's certainly a concern at the moment. Those observatories are historic. It's where, you know, the expansion of the universe was discovered. It's where Harlow Shapley discovered that that our sun was not in the center of the Milky Way. You know, a lot of cosmology was done there, and a lot of the you know, foundational parts of astrophysics were formed there. So hopefully it's all okay. In the future, in the not too distant future, we're supposed to work with Mount Wilson Observatory to show some live views through the through I think what will be the 60-inch telescope. So, and let me see if I can also get that link for them. Here it is. And I will just share that with you so you can look at it yourself. There you are, guys. James Dugan says, I live in Australia. We had a smoke problem at the start of the year. I know your pain. It lasted 2 months here, the smoke problem from the bushfires. It was horrible, what was going on. Fires around the world has just been a big deal, you know, so really tough. Jim Hendrickson said he observed the 2012 transit of Venus from Mount Wilson. You know, the seeing conditions there are just incredible. And Mount Wilson, although down below you've got Pasadena and LA and there's tons of light pollution, it is still, in the infrared, it's still one of the darkest sites in the world. So.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyhow, Yeah, the Mount Wilson was evacuated. So, anyways, we will see you tonight. In the meantime, keep looking up, as my friend Jack Horkheimer always said. So, thanks, guys, and we will talk to you later. No, I didn't want to go there. There we go.